Well, we need extra people in our lives, isn't
Mhm.
it? All right, recording started. Um, anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the retreat this week. It's been a fun-filled week. We've had a great time. We always have a great time at the retreat. Um, although we hate that we hadn't really been in person with you guys, it's been fun to do the coffee chats, and the bingo's been fun. The sign auction's been fun. We know for sure that we've raised over $3,000 on the silent auction,
Oh,
which
good.
is, yeah, which
Ooh, great.
awesome. It's $1,000 more than we did last year. But we
Mhm.
still have some donations coming in. Quite a few people that are paying a little bit extra. So we think that amount's going to go up um, after today. We did have a lot of participation from the schools. A lot of them jumped on. I sent an email out again yesterday. I'd sent three. I guess they're sort of like teenagers. They don't pay attention until it's the last minute. So a lot of them, a lot of them jumped on it yesterday and started bidding. Somebody contacted me at 6:42 yesterday and said, "Is it too late to make an account?" And so they jumped on at 6:42. So if they outbid one of you, I'm very sorry. Uh, but anyway, that was a fun process doing it online like that. And so we've already got invoices printed off of the system, which has been awesome. You should be able to go on and see what you won, so you know whether to come by and try to pick those up this afternoon. We will be here from 4 to 6 out front. So we will just do a drive by. You'll come through and we'll go get your items. You can pay online through PayPal, or you can pay when you get here. So um, we'll look forward to seeing you guys this afternoon. And hopefully it'll be a pretty quick system to get you through the drive through to pick up your items today. It's been fun also seeing you guys at the Remind trainings. It's been really nice to see some in person activity going on since we haven't seen you guys in so long. And we will continue to help you guys with Remind, as we said at the training. If anybody missed the training and needs training, let us know and we'll work with you on that. Um, we do have our last day of bingo today, so the calls will go out 10, 11, and 12. That's been really fun. We've had a lot of people sending in their cards as they win. A lot of people fussing because we hadn't called the right word so you can get bingo. But anyway, that'll finish today. But we think we're probably going to do that off and on throughout the year just because everybody seemed to enjoy that one a lot. Let's see. I hope you've gotten to see all the sessions. There are more sessions going up today, but it is the final day. We will leave that up so you can always go to that link. And if you hadn't had time to watch sessions, or you want to go back and review sessions, you can do that. So all the sessions are there, all the coffee chats are there. Um, the 2 days that I didn't record are there, but they're there as a PowerPoint, not the recording. But the other 3 days, thanks to, I think Sharon's the one that keeps reminding me to record. The recordings are there for the last 3 days, so you can see those. So you should be able to access those whenever you want to. We're going to just start a library of those kinds of things, which will be great for you to go back and catch up on some things and check into some things. So if you have any questions on those, let us know. Blaine Harding, that did Wednesday session on diversity, has let me know several times that he really wants you to follow up with him. So if you have any questions, comments, want to have a conversation with him, he came several years ago to our retreat. I don't know if any of you remember him or not, but I thought it was timely to bring him back this time. So um, he really would love to hear from you guys. And I think he probably put his contact information in his presentation, but if not, I can get it for you. So please feel free to follow up with him or any of the other people that have done the sessions. So we're going to get started now. I'm going to play our intro and then we'll go to our session. I guess I need to share my screen first. Yes, I'm going to everybody. Well, you can see that we've been looking at honey badger videos. This will tell you what all I've been looking at. All right. Let me unshare my screen. This morning we have Arnett Tolhurst and Katie Craig, and Katie is the College Davidson advisor, the Davidson College advisor that works at RS Central. And these two are going to talk to you about FAFSA because it's FAFSA season for our seniors. So Katie and Arnett, you'll need to unmute yourself because I muted you. You'll unmute yourself and you can share your screen.
Are y'all able to see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Thank you, Katie. Well, thank you all very much for being here this morning in our coffee chat. We are going to be talking about a very important piece of a senior's life in high school. So, and that would be the FAFSA and residency determination. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And it's very important that your mentees understand that that first F means free and that you can file your FAFSA absolutely free. It does not cost anything to file a FAFSA. The problem is there are websites out there that will offer for a fee to file a FAFSA for you. And I've even seen one several years ago that for a few more dollars, they would get it processed faster for you. So, you know, that's not something that can be done with a federal document. And this is a federal document. So make sure that if your mentees say anything about paying to get that done or that their parents have paid to get that done, that you try to stop them in their tracks and refer them to us. Make sure we know who they are and we will be in contact. And then residency determination is also another important step in a senior's life. It is required to determine that they are a resident of North Carolina in order to get funding from the state of North Carolina. So who should file a FAFSA? Every single student, whether they think, or every single senior, whether they think they are going on to college or not, should file a FAFSA, because a FAFSA is the application for federal student aid. And part of that is, of course, Pell Grant, which is money that does not have to be paid back, and then loans, lower interest loans for both them and their parents, possibly. So if a student finds out through filing a FAFSA that they do indeed qualify for a Pell Grant that does not have to be paid back, that could highly figure into, do they go on to college or not? So it cannot hurt them to file a FAFSA, and it just very well may be the ticket, the factor that gets them to indeed go on to higher education. And even though the FAFSA is a federal document and it is the application for federal financial aid, it also acts as the application for state and campus-based financial aid. Most scholarships require that you fill out a FAFSA, even though that scholarship is not need-based. In order to get ROPE money, you must file a FAFSA. And we didn't make that a qualification just to be nosy or to make them do one more step to get that. We want them to be able to find other funding out there possibly so that those ROPE dollars can go just as far as they can in paying for college. So that is why that requirement is made for ROPE, that the family does have to file a FAFSA. In order to get Power Scholarship money at ICC, which is a very wonderful, wonderful thing we are blessed with here in Rutherford County, Most kids can go to ICC and get a 2-year degree free or virtually free. They may pay for their books, but that Powers money can go a long way towards getting those 2 years of college under their belt. But in order to get that money, they must file that FAFSA. So you can see that this is a very, very important and can be a great asset to them to find money to go on to school. They only file the FAFSA one time their senior year, but they must file it each year. So it's not a one and done thing. Each year that they are in school, they must refile the FAFSA. So what information do they need to do this? They would need their parents and if they worked in 2019, if they're working now and they didn't work in 2019, they would not have filed taxes. But if they did, and their parents and the students 1040s and W-2s, there is a data retrieval system in the IRS website that we can go to, and that tax information will generally file into the FAFSA, but in certain situations, you can't use that tool. And even if we use that tool in order to break the wages down into how much was the father's, how much was the mother's, that sort of thing, we need the W-2s. So that's very important that they have both of those documents. We also need correct Social Security numbers for the people in the household, the parents and the student, including step parents, if that is their situation. We would also need checking and savings account balances. And if they have other investments, savings, stocks, bonds, we would need balances and information on that as well. So when do they file a FAFSA? They began being able to file a FAFSA for the 2021-2022 school year this October 1st. So on October 1st, 2020, the FAFSA opened. Anytime now until like June 30th, of 2021, they can file a FAFSA for that school year. However, this really needs to be done as soon as possible, especially if they are looking at going on to a 4-year college. That is because many 4-year colleges have priority deadlines. That means that they will process the FAFSAs that they have by that date first, and money is on a first come, first served basis. So, once the pot of money is gone, it's gone. So you want to file your FAFSA just as soon as possible after October 1st, especially if they're going on to a 4-year college. The best way to find out what the priority deadline is to check that college's website that you're interested in going to. Traditionally, it used to be March 1st. But when we began being able to file the FAFSA as early as October 1st, those deadlines kind of bumped up too. And so January 1st is some colleges' priority deadline. So it's best to check and make sure that you know what your college's priority deadline is. And it's really best that they just go ahead and file that FAFSA as soon as possible anyway. The FAFSA does not have to, as I mentioned before, that filing a FAFSA is a requirement to get rope money, but it does not have to be filed before the application deadline for rope, but it must be filed before any rope money is dispersed. So before they get rope money, we do verify that they have filed their FAFSA. So what you need to know as a McNair mentor is that you can have your students contact me, Katie, Carol Deaton at East, Celine Balmer at Chase, and the other two college advisors. And on the next slide, you will have their contact information too. And we will help them file their FAFSA. And the parent FAFSA's, the process has gotten a lot easier. They've streamlined the form. Some parents may just have questions that we can answer, and they feel comfortable themselves filing the FAFSA. Other parents feel like, they are totally new to this. They are not comfortable at all, and we will actually help them file their FAFSA step by step, question by question. So what you need to do is just refer them to us. Make sure that they have our contact information, and we will step in and help them in any way we can to get that FAFSA filed. Katie, can you think of anything that more to add to the FAFSA part of this?
I'll just say we're anticipating that a lot of students' families' financial situations are going to change pretty radically because it uses 2019's tax information. So if you're a student that you're working with, that family has experienced a sudden job loss, decrease in hours that's not going to be reflected on those tax returns. Encourage your student to talk to us and to reach out to the financial aid offices at the school. This year is just going to be a little weird for financial aid because of that. But the earlier that they can advocate for themselves, the more money that's going to be available for them.
Yes, very good point. And just another footnote, they will make an FSA ID, which is the way that they will, it's a username and password that they will use to electronically file the FAFSA, but we can help them do that as well. So just refer them to us and we will get them on the track to being able to pay for their college education. Okay, Katie.
Can I jump in really quick? Katie brought up the COVID-19 and the impact that's had. And I will just say that luckily last year, we started really early pushing our students to complete the FAFSA, and we really pushed for them to have it done by January 31st. So we got a good bit of our students. Our numbers for FAFSA completion actually went up pretty significantly at our schools. And across the country, the numbers for FAFSA completion actually went down pretty drastically because of COVID-19 and because of students not being in schools and getting the help that they needed. So I just want to give a shout out to our Davidson advisors and our McNair staff that worked on that last year, that really got our students in early, which was obviously we didn't know what was coming, but we were lucky enough to put a priority on that last year and got our students in and got those completed. So we're going to see our numbers looking a lot better than the country's numbers for last year. This year may be a very different story, but with kids in and out, but hopefully we're going to be pushing that. So we really need your help to push that for our seniors, the importance of all of our seniors completing the FAFSA and getting that done this year, because it's going to be a little bit harder for us to make contact with seniors. So hopefully when you're texting with your seniors, you can stress that to them, that that's something really important for them to do and to make contact with us so we can help them get that done. Okay. Sorry, Katie, you can go ahead.
All right, so we're just going to talk about the residency determination service briefly. Students can complete this anytime in their senior year. It's an online process through the College Foundation of North Carolina. It just verifies that the student is a resident of North Carolina, that they qualify for in-state tuition at UNC system schools and community colleges. It also qualifies them for some North Carolina grants. So it requires a significant amount of personal information from both the student and the parent or guardian. This includes social security numbers, tax filing status, driver's license numbers. This actually, the amount of personal information it requires from the parent can prove a barrier for students if they wait for the last minute to apply to college and don't do the residency prior. So for example, UNT Chapel Hill's deadline is October 15th. It is a huge advantage to apply as an in-state student. If a student waits until October 14th to do residency and there's any sort of issue, they're not going to be able to apply as an in-state resident. So really encourage your students to do this before they start applying. It's just going to make it a lot less stressful. It can also pose a barrier for some mixed status families. So families where the student may be a US citizen, but the parent may not be. documented or undocumented students. So students who don't have the social security number or have a different identifier from the government. It just is a little bit more of a roundabout process. And then also for McKinney-Vento students, so students who have experienced homelessness or housing insecurity, just because they don't have an address, a consistent address in the last few years, it can be harder for them to verify that they are in fact a resident of North Carolina. There are workarounds for most of these situations, with the exception of DACA and undocumented students. They will not be determined to be in-state. It just takes a little bit longer and requires extra steps. It also poses a huge barrier for students who don't check their email. Sometimes residency requires you to upload additional documentation, such as your driver's license, proof of like an electric bill or high school transcript. Students who don't check their emails may miss the window to upload those materials, and they'll just have to start the process all over again. It's not a huge deal, it just makes it longer, and it is frustrating when a student misses an opportunity because they didn't check their email. Again, encourage students to start the process well before any application deadlines and to check their emails. Every now and then, a student who was born in Rutherford County, North Carolina resident, shouldn't pose an issue, will for whatever reason be determined to be out of state. Sometimes it might be an issue with the way they type something in, or they might have just clicked the wrong button. Not a big deal, but it requires extra time. So making sure students don't wait to the last minute to do residency and are unable to apply as an in-state resident initially. So who can help? I can help, the other Davidson College advisors at Easton Chase can help, and McNair student service specialists can help as well. And here are the contact information for the folks at each school.
Thank you, Katie.
Unmute myself. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Arnett. Y'all did a great job on that information. Let me just add, Zuri Deaton added that students who are undocumented typically may shy away from applying for college because they know that they're going to have to pay out-of-state tuition, and it's very expensive to have to pay out-of-state tuition. So you may have some students who will talk about that, and that they can't apply because they know they're going to have to pay for that out-of-state tuition.
Question, please. Could I ask a question, Monica?
Yes.
I was a little confused when we were talking about residency requirements. It sounded like it was kind of mixing residency and citizenship up, like, you know, well, which is it, or is it both? And as far as documents, surely a birth certificate would prove citizenship for students who were born in the United States. And if they were born in North Carolina, you know, explain all that to me.
Okay. So you're right, it does mix those two things. So the birth certificate does prove that you're a resident of or a citizen of the United States. However, RDS is determined by where you've lived in the last year. So you could be in North Carolina and then move to South Carolina and live your whole life, the rest of your life in South Carolina. Even if your birth certificate says North Carolina, you would still be considered a South Carolina resident. The things it asks for are the social security number and driver's license numbers for students and parents. Typically, if those throw up a flag, if there's something about those two things that doesn't match up, or that doesn't prove that that student is a resident of North Carolina, it may ask for additional material. That's where we may upload a high school transcript to prove that they have been a student at RS Central for the last 4 years. Typically, if you're at a North Carolina high school, you are a North Carolina resident. We may also upload an electric bill in the last year that just proves that they've been living in a house in North Carolina for that long. Those are the type of information it asks. Does that answer your question?
I believe it does. And so like you said in your presentation, it's just a matter of being aware of the situation and looking for the appropriate workarounds.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Could I ask a question? Susan Hendrick.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'm a former high school counselor, and it was always difficult. There was some difficulty about which parent would be one that for which they file the financial aid with whose information. Y'all help with that, help the determination.
Yes, it would be the parent that they have lived the most with over the last year, but you as mentors would, you know, would not be discussing or not need to discuss that with them, would
Mhm.
refer them to us and we can determine that. That is how it works. It's who they have lived with the most. And sometimes they'll say, well, I live half the year with my father and with my mother. They have to say one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
and you go with that. Then if the college questions it, then they sort it out. But
Right.
but to get the FAFSA filed, they need to say, or the parent needs to say who the student has lived with the most
Thank you.
days of the year.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, can you go back to the slide that had the online link where they can do the RDS online?
I'm muted. Sorry, y'all. I don't think we added the link, but I can pull it up just real quick on my laptop if that's all right with
That's fine.
y'all.
I thought there was something about where it said they could do it online.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
through
no, it's-
FAFSA.
You got it.
See if it'll load if I'm on Zoom and recording.
I think it was TFNC.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll throw the link to the part in the chat.
And CFNC is where our students go to apply for college as well, so they can complete applications on CFNC and do the residency determination. But they have to do the residency determination before they can apply to any of the schools, because they have to have that number that they give them to put on their college applications.
Thank you.
Mhm. I did have a question over in the chat about ROPE being an academic award, and why does it interface with FAFSA requirements to be considered for ROPE? We require students to complete the FAFSA because we know that they need to. So ROPE is an academic award. They're going to receive the ROPE money regardless of what their FAFSA says. But we know that it's important for students to complete the FAFSA. And I actually saw a number the other day that if a student completes the FAFSA, they're like 84% more likely to go to college. That's huge. 84% more likely to go to college if they complete the FAFSA. And that could be a 2-year school, it could be a 4-year school, but a student can't get Power Scholarship at isothermal, like Arnett said, unless they complete the FAFSA. So even if students, and we have a lot of parents who say, oh, we're not going to get anything anyway. Well, they may not get the Pell Grant, but they may get institutional funds. I didn't think I would get money for my kids. In the first year, we weren't eligible for the Pell Grant, but my kids got a computer scholarship. And so they were able to get a free computer through the schools because I completed the FAFSA. And then the second and third year, my kids actually did get some scholarships because I had more than one student in school and because their grades were where they needed to be. But they wouldn't have gotten those. They wouldn't even be considered for those if I hadn't completed the FAFSA. So that was institutional funds. So it is important for students, no matter what their family status is or what they think their plans might be, to complete that FAFSA, because it may open doors for some things that they didn't know that they could be eligible for. So anyway, so we know that completing the FAFSA is important, so we make that a requirement for ROPE. So the ROPE money, they're going to get the amount of money that we say they're going to get no matter what, but we're going to make sure our students are completing the FAFSA. And so that's why that's a requirement for that, because we know that it may also open some other opportunities for our students on that. Okay, so I think that was all the questions. Zuri had made a comment too that we mentor students who were not born in the U.S., but their parents have a green card to live in the U.S. legally and eventually can become U.S. citizens. And so when their parents have a green card or resident card, students automatically get it. So there are students who are here legally and have that green card status or the resident card status that can get that. So that's something important. But the FAFSA, when they're working on the FAFSA, that's something that they can talk to them about. It's not necessarily something you have to talk to them about, but we do want you to encourage them to make sure they get their FAFSA done regardless. So if you're talking to any seniors, that's just another thing to talk to them about, and to talk to them about that residency determination. And they may or may not know what you're talking about. The best thing to do is to send them to the Davidson advisors who work with them on their applications and some of those steps, and our FAFSA financial aid specialists at our schools, which are Celine, Carol, and Arnett. So those, between those two, somebody's going to make sure they get what they need to get done. It's just a matter of encouraging them. If they're seniors, my niece is a senior. She's remote. I texted her yesterday and said, where are you on college applications? And she said, I don't even know where to start. So I've got her coming in next week and we're going to sit down. So, and there's a lot of kids who just don't know how to start, but there's a lot of resources here. So they can come to any of us and we're going to make sure they get to the right person if we can't help them.
Monica, this is Grady. Could I ask one more question, please?
Sure, absolutely.
It's a two-part question. Number one, mostly I would assume we're talking about Hispanic heritage students that we might be talking with. And when it comes to any document that's going to ask questions about their family, this can be a very sensitive area for them. And so the two parts of my question are, number one, how do you recommend is the best way for us as mentors to address these issues? And number two, based on my suspicion that part of the answer is you need to send them to, the McNair personnel. My question there is, what kind of assurances can our students have of privacy as far as the information they might share with either us or the McNair personnel?
Right. Well, you're right. My answer was going to be you encourage them to complete these things and encourage them to come see us. And if they have questions or concerns, that we can address those questions or concerns with them. But I think as in anything, any conversation you have with any of our students, you are their mentor and the conversations are confidential unless there's a concern for safety, obviously. And then we may have to have a conversation with a guidance counselor or something like that. But I would hope that that's a standard for any conversation you have, is that there's a privacy there. But also when they're working with the Davidson advisors who really specialize in working with our seniors to help them through that college going process, again, as with anything in the school system, those conversations are private. The student information is private, and they can address any concerns. So if a student has any concerns, then they can talk to those Davidson advisors or our McNair staff, and we will try to help them through whatever their concern is. And so if it happens to be something with resident documentation, then we're going to do our best to help them through that, to get them through and to whatever to the next step is going to be. So again, it's just a matter of encouraging our students to complete those steps and seeing the people who can help them complete those steps. And if they do have concerns, just remind them that, our conversations or your conversations with the students are private, and you're trying to help them with whatever their next steps are going to be. And that anybody that you refer them to is going to respect their concerns and going to keep their information private.
So it sounds like you're saying that it would be a good idea from time to time to remind our students that we view our conversations as confidential.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And the only reason you would ever share those conversations would be if there was a concern for safety. Right. I think you would talk to the student about that too at that point.
Oh, sure.
Monica,
Yes.
This is Jackie. What I found over the course of the years is that some of the students have a hard time getting their parents to come and do the FAFSA.
Right.
Is there any way, like if we told you guys that you could contact the parents, so we just have to continue to ask the students to continue to bug their parents to come in and do it?
Yeah, you can. let us know those things if you have a student that you know that that's going to be a concern about. A lot of times the students are the ones that come to us, and then we do bug the parents to try to get that information. I think, and Arnett and Katie can correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a process that if there's parents that are not involved, or there's no way we can get that information, there's a process that they can go through to declare themselves independent and file it independently, if that's going to be an impossibility to get that information. So again, I'm speaking with just this much knowledge, so this is not my specialty, but Arnett and Katie can jump in if I'm incorrect, but I'm pretty sure there's a process for that, for those parents. But yes, we can bug parents and try to get that information. It is a lot easier now because you can connect electronically to the IRS documents that we need. So sometimes you don't necessarily have to have the parent come in for those kinds of things sometimes. But for the most part, it helps to have the parents with that extra information.
Jackie, also, I'd say too, just to add to that, our Davidson Advising Corps, like they have been, dogged might be the right word to say, but they have been really good at supporting and like really trying to reach out to parents over the last year with the seniors, and have done a really good job of supporting and trying to contact those parents and make those connections and get those parents in. So they've been a great resource for us in the county, and in addition to what we offer with McNair too.
I agree, Neil.
I even had a student that after she had left, she called me to see if she could do the FAFSA, and I didn't know about being independent, but it was still, her problem was her mama still would not give her the information she needed.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about that part. I would have let y'all know, but she had graduated, and well, like the summer of the year that she graduated, she was still trying to get in school.
If there are students who have graduated or even in subsequent years, so they're freshmen and they need to come back, they can come see Neil, but Neil usually also connects them back to the McNair staff to do those FAFSA. We'll help them throughout college because they have to file it every year. So we'll help them every year if they need it. They can come back in and we'll help them get that done. So it doesn't end when they graduate and leave the high school. I did have another question.
I knew that she needed that information, so I just didn't know what else to tell her. She couldn't get her mama to do it, and I didn't know that she could go for independency.
Yeah.
So that's new for me.
Tell them to come see us. We'll help them as much as we can.
Okay.
I did have another question. What are you looking for on the 1040 tax return, Arnett, if you want to answer, or Katie?
That would be their wages, any deductions from those wages, that primarily, whether an employer pays for uniforms or something, that's not countable. But if they're putting money into an IRA or something through work, then you look at that amount separate, and that kind of thing will not always transfer from the IRS website, and it won't split the wages. If it's a 2-parent household, you show a total, but then the FAFSA asks for how much did parent 1 make and how much did parent 2 make, and you have to have the W-2s for that. So that in a nutshell is why we need the W-2s.
Are there any other questions?
And I might add that there are situations like if they did an extension, or if they filed late, or for whatever reason that the information will not transfer, you can't use that data retrieval tool. We have to manually put those numbers in. So that's why it's always a great idea to have the tax return and the W-2s with them.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Arnett and Katie. Appreciate that. Katie, if you'll unshare your screens, we're gonna do door prizes. And I actually have 4 door prizes this morning. So we have 2 gift cards to Zips Express Car Wash. So I have 2 of those. And I have a $25 Amazon gift card and a Frame House Gallery gift certificate. And it's a surprise how much that is since I can't see it easily. We'll figure that out in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to draw 4 names this morning. So we'll draw one for one of the car wash gift cards. And we have Ann Hutchins. So you have a car wash gift card. She's been here every day this week. We'll draw for the Amazon gift card next. B. Kinsey, you got an Amazon gift card for $25. All right, we'll draw for the other car wash gift card. Anita Camp Harrison, she's been early every day this week. I've seen her on there early, so she's got a car wash gift card. And last one, Susan Hendricks. She's also
All
been
right.
here every day this week. So you got the Frame House Gallery gift certificate.
Oh, thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you again for being part of the coffee chats in the morning and asking all the questions. We hope you guys have learned some things throughout the week.
Monica?
Yes.
Sorry, just to everybody would agree with me. We have the best FAFSA advisors through the McNair Foundation. I work in another county and I have worked in another state too. And seriously, I have never seen a high school having FAFSA advisors on campus. So hats off to our ladies because they do an amazing job, not only with us, but with our parents, whether they're English speakers or monolingual. They are amazing because I've seen them also do it virtually. So Annette, Carol, and well, she's gone, but now Celine, I'm sure she will do amazing too. Thank you so much for doing such a great job to support our students and their families.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zuri.
They are amazing. And this is a service that I see all the time of them trying to do just FAFSA nights and getting it done. And we have it in-house all day long, every day between the College Davidson advisors and our staff. So it is an amazing free resource for our students that we hope they're taking advantage of as they go through. This will be our last coffee chat for our retreat week, but we're gonna, I think, continue this probably monthly. Right before you start mentoring your students every month, we'll do a coffee chat so we can go over the things that are important for that month that you can share with your students. And that way we'll also get just a chance to see each other since we're not getting to see each other in person. But thank you guys for getting up early and taking the time to be with us every morning this week. We really appreciate it. Watch out for your bingo calls today. They'll be out at 10, 11, and 12. And then hopefully we'll see you guys this afternoon between 4 and 6 at East High School to pick up your silent auction items. So we should see you then. Remember, you can pay for it online if you'd like to. And so then all you have to do is pick it up, or you can pay for it when you get here. So thank you guys again. Yes.
Monica,
yes.
Could I just give a big shout out to the Davidson College advisors? They do so much more than just residency determination. They meet with every senior in the school to develop a plan after graduation, SAT registration, SAT waivers, on and on and on. Things I'm sure I'm not even aware that needs to be done. They do it. So we are so blessed to have them
Absolutely.
in our schools.
Absolutely. They are a huge resource for our students, especially our seniors. So we appreciate them very much. And Katie, thank you for coming on this morning with us too.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to end this one this morning and we'll see you guys hopefully this afternoon. But we'll send out a coffee chat link for the next one. We do that probably in November. So thank you guys again. See you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.